Hey guys, it's Denise with Create Your Future. Thanks for joining me for today's video. This video is going to be a good one. I'm going to talk to you about my personal success story with manifesting my specific person. Before we get into that, if you haven't already, set your intentions to get the most out of this video. Let's set the intention that you are able to step fully into trusting and knowing that no matter what has happened, no matter what your 3D reality looks like, you are going to get what you want because you're good enough. All right? Okay, great. What else do I want to share with you guys? Oh, my You Are Chosen in Love affirmation track is going off. People are coming in with amazing results, amazing feedback is getting, brought back to me. I don't know how to communicate all of a sudden. But I do want to point out, a lot of people saw immediate results in their 3D. And I just want to tell you guys, if that's you, no matter what you're doing, if it's an affirmation track, if it's subliminals, if it's meditations, if it's, certain techniques that you're using and you saw immediate results from it, that's amazing. That's powerful. That's wonderful. You're doing a great job. However, keep going. Like you are reprogramming an old story. You're reprogramming old beliefs. So you have to actually, it's like if it were a computer, you have to type in all the correct new codes, all of them, and then hit enter for it to actually take effect. So same thing, you want to listen. I can't even give you a timeline, but whatever you're doing, applying it for at least a month. All right. I feel like 2's better, 3's probably the best, maybe even 6 months. It just depends on the level of resistance. It's different for everybody. I get it, your thoughts create, so it's different for everybody. But if you feel like you're seeing hot and cold, especially things are shifting but then going back to the old very quickly, that's telling you that in order for it to become how you want it to become, you want to be more consistent with your mental diet, more consistent with whatever practices you're using aside from that. Okay, so that's all. So anyway, that being said, that affirmation track is amazing. It's the affirmations that I was using for myself and just my favorite affirmations that touch on being chosen as it pertains to love. And there's, it can be other stuff too, but it's geared toward romantic partner. So if you are interested in that, there's a link in the description below to get that for yourself. Also, if anyone wants more support on their manifesting journey, if you want questions answered about techniques, about mental diet, about the quantum field, about parallel realities, about the human construct of time, any of that stuff, about the basics of manifestation, why it's possible, how to do it, or the complexities of manifestation, there's a link in the description below to sign up with me for one-on-one coaching, and I can help you out with all that stuff. So that being said, we are going to get into my personal manifestation story. I'm going to try not to tell too much of the story itself because I feel like what you want to know is what I did, right? But obviously there's going to be parts of the story that get in there. And since this isn't something that I often reflect on, I may not stay on track entirely, so bear with me. I'll do my best, but as I'm remembering things, other things may come up. So some of you know, I manifested my specific person. I manifested a committed relationship with my specific person, and we are now talking about marriage. And our relationship is on autopilot. I still practice a mental diet, and it's not like everything's just perfect. I mean, we have a great relationship. Do we fight? Yes, we're in a relationship, but it's fine now. It's not like, oh no, everything's falling apart. It's more like, oh, this is frustrating. I'm tired of this. No big deal. Normal stuff. That's just to give you a little sneak peek or whatever into what it was like for me when we would have disagreements or arguments. It rocked my whole world. It made me feel like everything was falling apart. I was always anticipating another breakup and having to go through the manifestation process again of getting him back and getting over what had happened while we were broken up, or just getting over being angry that we were broken up, or whatever it was, So I've been through all of it with this person. I didn't consciously manifest this specific person into my life. I was just sort of at a place where I had been single for 2 years and I decided I was ready for a relationship. This person came in, I was attracted to him. However, my initial assumption was he's too young for me. And that totally played out. Like, that played out for a long time. And that assumption shifted. Like, it stayed negative for a long time, but it shifted in the negative perspective that I was viewing it through. At first, it was, he's too young for me, which meant he's too immature. He's not going to be ready for this. He can't do it. Then it shifted into, I'm too old for him, which meant, you know, I'm old. I'm looking older. Like, I'm an older woman. I'm not young and youthful and, 25 or 23 or 20 or whatever. And so there was that. And then it shifted into, what are other people going to think? Like, is his family going to think I'm too old for him? Or my friend's going to think he's too young for me? Is my family going to be supportive? Is his, or his friends going to be? It was like that whole thing. So I just want to point that out. Like, that's, it was like that one circumstance of our age gap had so many different angles of viewing it that were all still negative. And I was, like, I had to work through a mental diet and through affirmations and through scripting. I worked through all of those things, and all of them played out in 3D reality, like all of them. There was a period of time, like in the very beginning, before we were even really serious, like we weren't in a committed relationship. We had all these breakups, and they were because of the age gap, right? I don't know if this is what I want. I think I want somebody closer to my own age that I can build a life with. Your life's already built. Just all of that. And, even when we were serious and then would have breakups, almost every breakup, he would pursue somebody close to his own age, right? So there was that, like, that was the idea that he wanted someone younger, and that kept manifesting and playing out. So there's the age thing. Then it turned into, well, not just then it turned into, but also existing in that time space reality was the idea that because I have kids, and now they're 7, 18, and just about to be 24. So this was, going back 5 years, but still the older two were older. They were older. It was a teenager and an adult, a young adult. And so it wasn't like, he's taking on a whole slew of like little children, but there was still an aspect of how he would relate with my oldest son, because they're only 3 years apart from each other. And then, how is he going to be with my teenage daughter? And like, is she going to respect him? Are they going to have, like, what's that dynamic going to be like? How's he going to treat her? How's she going to feel about him? All of that stuff. And then how is he going to be with my youngest son, who does need a father figure in his life? Like, that's important, that the man that comes into his life is wanting to do those things, like teach him things and take him fishing and like actually play the role of a stepdad. So there was all of that. All of those circumstances were there, and like all of the doubts and the fears and the insecurities. And it was about 3.5 years before our relationship got to where it became like the breakup stopped. My assumptions about us working and staying together became dominant. I felt secure in the relationship as a result of those assumptions being dominant. I felt secure. I felt safe. I felt like there weren't many more obstacles or hurdles to accomplish, right? It just started to feel like a normal relationship where, like, this is good. I believe in us. I believe in this. Yeah, we have relationship things. We argue. It's not perfect, but it's a great relationship now. It's on autopilot. Things are manifesting now that I used to put effort into affirming and scripting that he would say or do, and how it would look and how it would feel. And you know, something I want to point out is all of the effort that you're putting in, which I want you to do it as minimally as possible, because I want you to know that you will get it no matter what. Your desire will always manifest. Like, if you practice a healthy mental diet, you're going to get what you want. You don't have to do all that extra stuff. I did a lot of extra stuff, mostly to combat my anxiety and my insecurities. And I really wanted to reprogram deep beliefs within myself about myself as it pertains to relationship. Like, so I went through it. But also I want to point out there were several times where I also gave up. Like, I decided multiple times, I'm done. This is too hard. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And I just want to point out, for those of you that seem to do that, it's okay, because you actually can't give up on your desire. Like, that's a little secret. You can't. Your subconscious mind is always going to be driven to manifest your desire. It may take some bumpy back roads. It may not make sense along the way, but it will always do that. Like, if you want something, you will always be driven toward it. In other words, looking at my situation, I gave up a multitude of times, but obviously none of those times ever stuck. I never actually gave up. I gave up in moments of frustration. I told myself I was giving up. I told myself I was done, whatever, but it didn't last, because here we are. And I always, like, my desire was stronger than my ability to give up. And the other thing with giving up is, I don't believe you ever can give up on anything, because, like, first of all, that happens, right? If you still want it, you're going to be drawn to keep pursuing it. That's the first part. Like, you will not be able to really fully give up on it and just move forward and walk away. And if you are giving up, moving forward and walking away, that's because you actually want something different now. So you're still not giving up on your desire. Your desire has changed. It has shifted. So for those of you struggling with the, like, do I keep going or persist? Do I keep going or persist? You don't have to figure that out. Your subconscious will take over and take care of it for you. You'll either keep persisting naturally because you can't not, because you still want it, or something new will come in and you'll persist toward that because that's what you want now. So don't worry about that. You don't have to figure that out. Just honor yourself in each moment, trust your desire in each moment, follow it, and it will just keep leading you toward the next desire, right? It's all good. Like, when I gave up, I didn't resist giving up. I didn't tell myself, no, you have to do this. You have to do this. You can't give up. You have to persist. And when I gave up and then decided I was going to get back on it, I simultaneously, or also, it's not the right word, I also didn't persist in saying, no, you have to give up. You made a decision. You can't persist in this. I let myself be where I was and just went with it, and it all worked out. So do that. So all of those assumptions about our age gap and about, me coming with a family, all of those manifested and played out in various ways for the first several years of our relationship. All of them. I mean, all of them played out more than once. Many of them played out more than once. It wasn't even after those assumptions changed was when he finally brought me around to introduce me to his close group of friends. So, 3.5 years we'd been together, and I had met through other people, a couple of his friends, but in the dynamic of he and I being together, I hadn't been brought around or met his friends, his close group, Even me with my friends, I was very resistant. And I did start earlier than him, inviting him around, but it was very far and few between. And in the back of my mind, I was also setting the intention that he's not going to be able to make it, because I hadn't yet reconciled all those thoughts and fears about us being wrong for each other because of our age difference, or because of how many breakups we had, or whatever it was, So, it was up until 3.5 years, there were so many things that just weren't vibing and jiving, and it could have been really easy for me to say, oh, this just isn't right, it's just never going to happen, I'm going to give up. But I didn't. And, you know, because I couldn't. Like, I did say that along the way, but if it were really easy for me to give up, I would have actually given up and not persisted in it, you know? So that's something I want to point out, because it's really important that you guys understand that you don't have to figure that part out. It'll be figured out for you. So many circumstances, many assumptions, negative thoughts, negative beliefs playing out over and over again for a few years. And what shifted it all, right? Like, how did I finally get it? Like, what was the thing? I don't know that it was one thing. I do know that the last breakup that we had, which was the one right before everything shifted and fell into place and the relationship felt secure and I believed in it, and he was mirroring back and reflecting all the evidences of that and doing all the things that I had, you know, years prior, or like whatever, up to a year prior, had been persistently wanting, affirming for, scripting, imagining. All those things started happening. And I hadn't even been focused on them for like almost a year before everything shifted, right? Like, because what I started doing toward the end was really focusing on my self-concept. But I also know and believe that in the early stages, when I wasn't as focused on my self-concept, all of the stuff I was experiencing and feeling and going through was necessary in me manifesting the version of me that was able to focus on self-concept. So I'm telling you this because I really want you to understand that wherever you're at, it's not wrong, ever, no matter where it is. And there's no right way. Like, I can sit here and tell you focus on self-concept 80% of the time, which I do. I tell clients that all the time. But also, if you haven't manifested the version of you that can do that yet, it's okay. But you will get to that version, right? And that's how I was. Like, I wasn't that version yet. I was the version that was still more consumed, especially that first year. I was more consumed with what he was doing and how he was showing up and what he was feeling and what he was thinking, you know? And I do believe that in a way, it's like I can look at it and say it prolonged my manifestation, but also I can say, well, you can't actually mess up your manifestation, and it was part of me manifesting the ability to manifest this way. Like, it all was necessary. Everything happened perfectly along the way, right? So, you know, then, yeah, through multiple breakups and multiple negative assumptions and beliefs consistently being mirrored back to me, and me consistently wanting to give up, but never really being able to, I got to the point where the last time we broke up, I changed everything. I did nothing like I did before. I did not look once at any social medias for him. I did not look at anything. In the past, I would look. What is he doing? Who is he talking to? Has he met someone? Is he going out with people? What's he doing? Like, big no-no. But also, if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing, and you'll just keep doing it until you don't. So don't worry about it. Just keep doing your affirmations and you'll get there. But, you know, I stopped. I didn't do that. I obviously didn't reach out, and I wouldn't even let myself think about him. When thoughts of him would come up, when any of those questions would come up, because they definitely do come up. You can't control the thoughts that come up. You can control what you do with those thoughts, how much attention you give them, whether or not you redirect to something else, but you're not going to be able to control the thoughts that just come up. So thoughts of him would come up. Thoughts of him, thoughts of our past, thoughts of the breakup, thoughts of what he was doing, what he might be doing, who he might be talking to, right? Just whatever. Any thoughts, I would tell myself, I don't have to worry about that right now, or I don't have to think about that right now. And then I would immediately go into self-concept affirmations. And mine were very simple, and they were mostly, I'm worth it. I'm good enough to have what I want. Everything's working out in my favor. I think the I'm good enough was like, I was giving that a lot of attention. I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. Or I'm a goddess, I'm amazing, things like that is what I would do instead, right? Like, anytime my mind would start to go into that old self-concept of me that's wondering what he's doing, or replaying the breakup in my mind, or what I wish I would have said, or how I wish I would have handled it, or any of that stuff. I would just redirect self-concept, 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 self-concept. And through that, I was then able, or it just happened, I wasn't even like I was able to, but yeah, I was able to then think of a version of him that was ready to give me what I wanted, right? So when we got back together that last time, and we've been together ever since, and it's been steady and it's been consistent, and he's doing different things, he's saying different things, he's a different version of himself now. I'm a different version. I'm doing different things. I'm saying different things. I'm thinking different things. We've both become different versions of ourselves. But the two things that we've discovered, or that, you know, when we talk about all the breakups and the resistance and what was in the way, he knows that I manifest. He knows that it's love-based. He knows what I do. Like, he gets it. But, you know, when we talk about our life and his perspective of what happened, it's so interesting and so perfect, because his whole thing is like, you know, for the first part of our relationship, where I was having the most trouble in the beginning, like, and I was having a lot of trouble in the beginning, that first part was him not accepting the age gap, which was what I was doing. I was completely pushing that out. That was all me, like 100%. And once he accepted the age gap was when we started to, like, I met his family, he met my family. He did come out with my friends a few times. I didn't meet his friends yet, because that was, you know, we weren't there yet. But so those things started happening. His family loved me, my family loved him. Those things were happening. Our relationship got more stable. We had our longest stint of staying together after that, like after he accepted the age gap, which was obviously pushing out, you know, the push out of me accepting it and me deciding it no longer mattered. And then we did break up one more time, maybe it was two, but definitely the last time we broke up was after all of that. I think we had two minor, like maybe a short breakup and then another breakup that was a month long. But anyway, the details are irrelevant. But after that shifted, then it was the father figure thing that was in the way still, right? Like, I had manifested, not conflict between him and my youngest son, but definitely like I was uncomfortable, because I was manifesting from the assumption that he wasn't ready to be a father figure to my son, and that he didn't have the patience. And so when we were together in the kitchen, or just whatever, when he would come over, or like he lived with me and then moved out and then came back, but during that time, like when we lived together the first time, it was like I would create just tension between them. That's the word, not conflict, tension. And it was me being worried and assuming, oh, he's going to say something, you know, he's not going to be patient enough, or he's not going to be nice, or he's going to get frustrated, or, you know, my son doesn't like him, or all, like I had all these stories, and that was all, you know, this assumption that he's not ready for this. And so, like, my older kids, they were older, so it was different. Like, the dynamic between him and them was different and easier, just different. But it's funny because, like I was saying, once everything shifted in my reality, when we talk about it now and reflect back on it, what changed within him was he accepted his role as a father figure. So the two things that were in the way of us having a consistent, steady relationship, right? The first thing was him accepting the age gap. And the second thing was him accepting his role as a father figure. And both of those things, 100% from beginning to end, were my thoughts being pushed out, my assumptions being pushed out. So through that first 3.5 years of breakups and back and forths and all of the whatever, all of those ups and downs, I was reconciling and learning to create new assumptions. I was learning to have new beliefs and to accept that we can have a healthy, loving relationship that can be stable and consistent despite these things, or in spite of. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say that, but even with these things existing, even with our age gap, and even with me having children, we can still have a relationship that's healthy and stable and loving, and where we're growing together. And so what did that really mean? It meant I had to decide, I can have this. I can have what I want, even though these circumstances look like this. They can still exist. They can still be there, and I can still have what I want because I'm good enough, because I deserve it. That's ultimately what it always came back to, was me deciding that I'm so worth it that nothing else can be in the way of it. Nothing can matter more than that. Nothing can matter more than my worthiness and deservedness of having what I want. So that's how I did it. And like I said, it didn't look like that from the beginning. And sure, if I had had that assumption from the beginning, that whole experience would have been incredibly different, but that just wasn't my experience, and I'm okay with that. And if that's not your experience right now too, it's okay. You're still going to get what you want. And if that is your experience, then amazing. That's wonderful. Lovely. Celebrate it. But also, like, nobody's doing it wrong. We're all doing it right. We're all working through different assumptions and, you know, different areas where there's resistance, and we're all working through different levels of resistance. So there is no cookie cutter, do it this way, this is how you get what you want, or, you know, don't do that. Like, just trust and know that you can't get it wrong and you can't mess it up. And if what you want is what you still want, you will get it. And if what you want becomes something different, then you're still going to get what you want. And you didn't give up, you didn't fail, you didn't make a mistake, and nothing was in vain. It's all always getting you closer to what you want. So trust your desire, accept it, and then do your best to have a mental diet that supports the manifestation of that desire. Even if that mental diet is just, I'm good enough to have it, I'm good enough to have it, I'm good enough to have it, I'm good enough to have it. Even if that's where you're starting at first, like, it's okay. Eventually you'll start to get into other affirmations and other, you know, spontaneous inner conversations and imaginal scenes and other things that support you actually being able to fantasize and feel you having it. But wherever you're at, honor it and trust and know that you're gonna get there, just like I did. So that's my video. I think, yeah, self-concept, that was huge. But again, like I said, like, I had to do other stuff to get there. Like, I was manifesting that self-concept, and so that was just part of how I did it. You know, part of how I manifested my self-concept was wanting something so much. Wanting it no matter what, right? Wanting it no matter what it looked like in 3D. Just, I mean, it was just all natural. It just pulled me that way. Like, I couldn't have done it wrong. I couldn't have done it different. And I realize that now. But when I was in it, I definitely was thinking, I'm doing it wrong and beating myself up. And why can't I get this? And why can't I do it? And it's okay, because I got it and I did it. And I was doing it the whole time. I just didn't realize it. I wasn't looking at it that way. So if you find that you're looking at what you haven't accomplished and what you haven't manifested, practice shifting that right now. Start making lists of things you have manifested, what you have accomplished, the progress you have made with your specific person. There's always some, right? And if there just hasn't been any yet, trust and know that there will be. It's okay. You will get there. What else did I want to point out? Oh yeah, the other thing that I feel like a lot of people question is if they should stay in the situation or leave it while they're manifesting, right? They're like, I still know I want it. I'm going to do everything to get it, but do I stay in it and mental diet, and affirm, or do I walk away and set a boundary and mental diet, affirm? You can do either. Neither of them are wrong. They are both valid and they will both work. It's what you believe, and like, what you believe, but also do what, like, honor yourself. Do what you feel is best for you. Like right now in the moment, does it feel better for you to set a boundary and walk away? And trust and know that you can reject your desire as many times as you want, as long as you keep knowing that you're going to get it no matter what. Like if it's showing up and it's not how you want it, you don't have to tolerate it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to stay with it. You know, like you don't have to do that. You can say no, go, goodbye. And you know, that was like our last breakup. That was me. Like I'm the one that was like, I just put it all out there, all my thoughts. I was like, this is what I feel like I'm getting from you, and this is what I know I deserve, so we're not doing this anymore. And that's what shifted everything, you know? That's what changed everything. Now, before that, I wasn't doing that. I was always available. I was the one, you know, he was the one ending the relationship, and he would come back, and I would accept him in with open arms every time. And that was fine too. Like, neither of these were wrong. They were both just different ways of doing it. So if you are able to be in the relationship and be with the person and work on your mental diet and do your affirmations, then do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfect. If you feel like you want to set boundaries and create space from your manifestation because maybe you think it'll be easier to affirm and practice a healthy mental diet when you're not being triggered, then do that. There's nothing wrong with that. So again, there's no wrong way to do it. Even if you flip-flop back and forth between both, that's okay too. I promise it can still work out for you. All right. Okay. So that's my video for today. This was a long one. Thank you guys for sticking through. You're awesome and amazing, and I love you, and you're powerful, and you get to have what you want, and trust yourself. You're not going to mess this up. You can't. Okay. Have a great day. Bye guys.